Quishbilly, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
European Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hey up everyone and welcome to episode 109 of the Town Social, part of the Andy Tate's Hat Chance Network. And we've got a win, an actual win to celebrate as Ryan Hardie's first goal for Town helps us come from behind to win 2-1 against Barnsley. The lads are naturally buzzing. Should we get excited or can we forget about that turgid performance in the first half? 210 minutes without a shot on target finally ended, and can Ryan Hardie prove the catalyst to a promotion challenge? We'll be reviewing the fixture running with our predictions to where Town will finish, plus running a critical eye over the altogether Town minutes, particularly over the season cap prices for next season. As always, we want you to join in the conversation on all things Town. Add your comments into the chat and any other points you want to discuss, and we will oblige. I'll be your host this evening, Nick Barlow, and joining me tonight will be Gaz K, Andy K, and Mr. Ian Kilroy. How are you doing, lads?
All right.
The KKK.
We're back together, boys. Look at this. It's nice. It's midweek off. No Tuesday night game for Town, so thought I'll make an appearance. You've always got to remember where you've come from, haven't you? You've got to remember the little guys in the world when you've moved on.
I tell you what, isn't it nice to actually talk about a win? Because that last episode were tough going. End of the day, a win's a win, innit? Well, I tell you what, let's talk about the Barnsley game. Get your comments in, guys. As always, we've not had any comments so far, so come on. I know we've won and no one's bothered when we win, but come on, let's get celebrating. Eh? Why can't, let's be a bit positive.
And we've just gone 1-0 up under 21. We've just gone 1-0 up as well. Sorry, I just yet again there, but we've just gone 1-0 up against Hull. Don't know who scored, but
excellent stuff.
Yeah, that's where everybody is.
Under trade. Yeah. Well, no, I have no idea, mate. Yeah, no idea.
Cheers, Andy. So, Barnsley game. First thing I'm going to say, I thought crowd were pretty poor for this. You know, I know performances haven't been great, but at the end of the day, it's still a derby game, isn't it? It's a big game, a lot riding on it, and I just thought it was really quiet, really quiet. I mean, crowds haven't exactly been bursting at the seams, have they? But you know, looking around some of the stands, and I'm thinking, do you know what? Is this where we are? Like, they can't have been more than 11,000 there. I know they we had our usual 18,000 crowd announced, but I just say, why do you think that is, guys? Do you think that people are just at that can't be our stage now with the manner of the performances, or do you think people have resigned to the fact they're not going anywhere? Because I were a little bit shocked by that, if I'm being honest, just before we get onto the game.
Well, the weather was shite, wasn't it? Which doesn't help. It was pretty cold. I think about 5 minutes after I sat down, it started raining sideways as well, didn't it? So it was a pretty miserable afternoon. And as you say, the form we've been in, Barnsley, Barnsley can turn it on when they want. I think people probably decided to stop at home, watch it on the old dodgy stick, I would think.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I bet they were glad they stayed at home in that first half, because oh dear me, it were carry on from the last two games in my eyes. It was May up front on his own, Humphreys in the middle of the park with Ledson, which had me a bit concerned. Never really gone well with Ledson, Kasumu, Ledson, Humphreys. I think we're missing McGuane massively, and I just thought Barnsley would control that midfield. And to be fair, I thought we started all right for the first 10 minutes. We had a couple of chances, looked quite lively, forced a few corners, didn't we? But never really tested the keeper, as is a bit of a worrying trend for us over the last few games. And Barnsley grew into the game, and they were having a lot of joy down the flanks. I thought Cleary gave Sorensen all manner of problems down that left-hand side, and McGoldrick gets an header disallowed for marginal offside. He was offside, but it was a sign of things to come, and we stand off McGoldrick in the box. I mean, and to be fair, look, I really like McGoldrick as a player. I think when you get to that age, you're still playing at that level. Shows a lot about you, and he's obviously still got it with the finishing, hasn't he? I think sometimes you got to, you can say we haven't got tight enough to him, but it's a cracking finish from that angle, and Nichols has no chance. And I think Barnsley really deservedly go 1-0 up, and we're thinking, here we go again, guys, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I'm with you, Nick. I mean, Keller and I were talking. I thought McGoldrick was the best player on the pitch for 60 minutes till he got subbed. The Barnsley midfield made the Barnsley midfield's life a lot easier because he was dropping off and picking up whoever was coming into the number 10 position. And although he hasn't got the legs he used to have, he did show it from time to time. There was one month where I think Al's broke away from our halfway line, bursting towards the Barnsley goal, and up pops McGoldrick, tracking him, overtaking him and tackling him. So, he was head and shoulders the best man. He was man of the match for the first hour. And the goal really was we were right behind it. And after it was, as soon as he left his boot, he knew it was in. He sent Sorensen to go and get a cup of tea in here with his little step over. So he just go the other way, which is really random. And then it was right out of the top draw. But I thought Barnsley were good value for the lead at that point. Town had started all right. The one change you didn't mention was obviously Lasse Sorensen coming in as well as Alfie and Cam Humphreys. And that was where we're getting our joy early doors. He seemed to have acres down our right-hand side, and the big switch was on, and they kept getting the ball across to him really quickly. And then for some reason, we decided to stop fucking doing it, which just was beyond me. And that then gave their left winger, whose name I can't remember, what's his name? Keller, the left winger.
It was clear on left.
Yeah, all the invitation he start turning Sorensen out of the way, which he did. And I thought Luca O'Connell. Is it Luke? Is he O'Connell or is he Connell? Luca Connell.
Just Connell.
There's a Connell and an O'Connell and centre half in them.
LC, the big LC. him and McGoldrick really got a grip of the game then. So I'm with you, Nick. I thought at half time they were good value for the lead. There were some grumblings in the crowd. The sparse crowd was starting to grumble and moan and groan, and I think there were even 1 or 2 boos, weren't they? So, but yeah, Barnsley were good value for the lead, and I would think if you're a Barnsley fan in the way end, you're thinking 3 points on the table for us, lads.
Yeah, Ian, it's worrying this though. Town's first half performances are rarely dazzling, shall we say. Why do you think that is? Why are we so slow to get into games, mate? Because it's killing us. I know we came back in this game, but you just give yourself a mountain to climb, don't you? We just allow Barnsley to get into that game. And to be honest, I thought Barnsley finished the half really strong after McGoldrick's goal. They could have, he had another mazy run where probably a bit selfish, puts it wide when maybe he could have brought someone else in. But, if he'd have gone in at 2-0, I probably wouldn't have had many complaints. Why are we struggling so much in first halves?
I thought the setup was wrong, to be totally honest, this weekend, Nick. I thought the way we went about the midfield just wasn't good enough against a team that are actually really good in midfield, like you say, with Connell and everybody else that they've got. I think Phillips played with, I can't remember who played in the 10, but they dominated midfield. And when teams dominate midfield against Town, and you've only got striker up top in Alfie May that's needs somebody with him for a little bit of support, the ball just kept coming back and back and back again. It's just Town didn't know how to play football through a team like Barnsley. It's just not what we're at. We are suffering through injuries or decisions to let players like Herbie Kane go. I know he's got injured now, and so he wouldn't be available anyway, but we have a distinct lack of quality in midfield when it comes to players. You can get the foot on it and play football the way you need to transition up the field. So for me, that was one of the biggest issues in that first half. The second issue was tempo. We start every game really well. I think I bore guys senseless on this one. We're talking about the pressing that we kick off first 15 minutes. We go really high with the press. We have the front three pressing their back line, right? 15 minutes in, no matter the game, no matter the situation, for some reason, we sit deeper. I do think a lot of it is on the defensive line, naturally, because it's pretty aged and slow, kind of drops a little bit deeper and it makes a bigger gap in midfield. So then the press has no support. 15 minutes in, that has to stop because you're getting knackered chasing shadows, for example. And I think those things added together results in the first half performances we're getting at the moment. We also do have quality on the bench. So I think there's less of an urgency as well from Manning's side and Town side, knowing that the longer the game goes on, the more changes we can make against teams like Barnsley and teams hopefully like Doncaster. I know it didn't quite work, but against teams like that and Stevenage, that you're hoping later on in games you can change it for the good. And to be fair, other than the 2 games prior to this, we haven't done too bad doing that. But I think it's a mixture of all those things. I think the team build at the moment with the injuries that we've got isn't right. I think the setup that we're going with week in and week out isn't right either. And I do hope we've seen the last of what we started with against Barnsley, because again, this 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it, formation-wise, 3-4-2-1. For me, it's just not working. And I think it's actually giving our opponents more of a belief as well that we are beatable. We know we're beatable. But I think you've got a few minutes at the beginning of games where you're like, oh, it's Huddersfield. To spend a lot of money, they're going to be really, really good. But the way we're set up and the way we start games gives other teams belief. And I think that's something else that we're suffering with. Whereas when you make a change like we did in that second half, which I don't want to go that far just yet, we'll look a total different team. I think it's a mixture of, like I said, the midfield not being good enough playing in this system. And when you've got more guys further up the field as a front two, or a proper front three, but more or less a front two, it drags everybody else with it, and it kind of makes up for that gap you've got there. But this continued team selection that we've had in a very short period of time, Manning's only been here a few weeks. I'm not going to say he's never going to get it and he's not good enough. I'm not going down that road whatsoever. It's just this setup I thought was wrong for the team that we were facing. That's pretty much it. And it was evident because I'm with you, Nick. I thought there could have been a couple of goals to the good at half time. I think the penalty shout was in the first half as well, wasn't it? With was it Barley taking? I don't know if it was Grant. I can't remember who he's tripped up on the way through. But from where we were sat, guys,
it was Ledson doing the tripping.
Ledson, is that what he was? Ledson, yeah. Well, from where we were sat, getting those two mixed up, which is quite surprising. It looked like there could have been contact, or it was a dive. I'm still not entirely sure why neither was given. I don't really know what the referee saw, but from where we were, if it's contact, it's a penalty, and if it's no contact, then it's a dive. They didn't go through down either of those routes, but that's just from our angle, which might be a little bit deceiving. I get that. But no, Barnsley were good value for the lead, I thought, at half-time. And we knew we were going to do better in the second half because I don't actually think we could do much worse. But they thoroughly deserved it. And we can't start games like that because against Barnsley, you might be able to feel your way back into it. But you do that against Bolton or Reading, you ain't going to get back into it. You're going to be out of the game by half-time. And we've got to change that starting this Saturday coming up.
No, Ben England says first half, not good. Second half, a lot better. Yeah, I think not good's been kind, mate. I think it was a tough watch, to say the least. Andy, one of the critiques I think that Manning's had is his inability to make substitutions at half-time, maybe leaving it a bit too late to bring subs on. Do you think he maybe should have made a couple of... I know he changed the system at second half, but should he have maybe brought a couple of players on at half-time to freshen it up?
It would have been difficult for me to work out who to take off because it could have been anyone from bloody 10, really. But I thought I agree with Killer. First 15, when we got that press on, we looked like we were a different team. And then we just sat back. I thought that Barnsley would look to be trying to go, deep block and hit us on the counter. And I'm sat there thinking, why the chuff are you doing that against us? All you've got to do is just pass the ball about a bit and we'll fall apart. So whether he should have done, he's talked about it, hasn't he? He said that maybe in one of the games that we didn't perform particularly well in, he should have made subs at half time, and he said he'd take the learning from it. And then since then, we've not been great, and he's not done the subs at half time. So whether he's given, it was 10 minutes into the second half, wasn't it, when he brought Hardie on. So whether he's given them, you've got 10 minutes, lads, to pull your fingers out, or I'm going to change the shape, or I'm going to change personnel. I don't know, but it all worked out, didn't it? After each goal, a minute later, we scored. So straight out of the Lee Grant playbook of earlier on in the season, bring subs on, make yourself better and win a game. But at half time, I'd given up. I weren't going to Wigan. I were not bothering. I was thinking, a bloody bike ride. Well, it seems to be weather's better on a Saturday than it is on a Sunday. So I'll do my long ride on a Saturday rather than bothering with Sundays. Proper monk on it away end. I've got my lad next to me. It's a proper derby for him because he, a lot of his mates in away end as I did as well, and he's proper got grump on as well. So thank the Lord they pulled it out of the fire. But yeah, you're right. If we're going to get anywhere near the playoffs, we cannot afford to have this constant trend of not playing well for at least half a game. At some point during this season, we've got to play well against a good team for 90 minutes. When that'll be, I don't know. And whether that's to do with the injuries and the disruptions that we've had, maybe so. But yeah,
Andy, that's worrying. Have you ever felt like this before, Andy? Andy, have you ever felt like this before? You seem extremely down, actually. I don't think I've ever heard you talk like this about quitting, going to Wigan. You're normally there no matter what's happening to you. Because I read there was an article this week, wasn't there? I think Dan Story wrote about it in that why does football feel so shit? Basically, that they weren't his words, but why is it so shit at the moment? But I think Town fans definitely fall under that category. Now, I am often referred to as being quite negative. I don't feel like I am in that way. To be fair, I've never left the game early. I am playing football this Saturday instead of going to Wigan, so I'm down that route a little bit. But that's not unusual for me. But why do you think it's happening? Because I feel like you are one of these people.
It's not because it's just at the moment. It's because it's been this way for so fucking long that you just get to a point of thinking, you know, as you get a bit older in life and you're knocking on a bit and what have you, you're thinking, I've only got so many Saturday afternoons left. Do I want to be wasting them watching this?
Oh, no, mate. I thought this was going to be a more positive episode after the last one.
No,
I say that.
It's genuinely true. Genuinely true. It's not that deep, is it? It's absolutely not that. Oh my God, I've only got 10 Saturday afternoons left. Fingers crossed. But I'm in Sniper's Alley at my age, so you never know what might happen. So I'm just, it's the return on the investment. Are you getting entertained? Are you getting enjoyment? Are we getting the last minute winner at Peterborough? Yeah, but they're so far and few in between. You know, the Cameron Ashier moment down at Reading, stuff like that for this season. It's been pretty shit, hasn't it? And if we're at that same cusp of whether we drop off like we did last season, or whether we sort of power into the playoffs and start to make a go of it. But at some point, there needs to be some fucking return for the money invested by us season ticket holders and everybody else in the club. Otherwise, you start to think, what's the point? So, but you got to take into account that I feel it more for that particular game. I've lived down here and I love the place and I love the people. Barnsley for, well, God, what? How many years now? Coming up nearly 20 years I've lived down here and I love it. But I can't do with losing to that lot. But so that's probably why it heightens my senses. Whether I'll feel the same when we're 1-0 down away at Wigan on Saturday. Well, yeah, I probably will, to be fair. But yeah, it's just been.
I think the outcome of that kill. I think what Andy's trying to say is he's a massive drama queen.
Yeah,
what's new? So what's new?
But I think I mean, bar a few clubs, Wrexham maybe. There's any fan you speak to of any team, nobody's like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, fans were every game red hot to go, talked about nothing else. Even the most ardent fans of other teams I know now, you'd speak to them. And I was speaking to a lad today who's a Leeds fan, and he travels from Northampton for every Leeds game. And he's going, you know, we're doing all right, but it's just, you know, I can't get excited about finishing 18th. I think the cost of going, disconnect between players. You know, the players now, they're not lads, they're not Darren Bullocks who they play on a Saturday and then you see them out for a beer on a Saturday night. These players that you have a connection with are all gone as well. I think there's some of that in it. But yeah. It's the danger of being the game that eats itself. This is getting very philosophical, isn't it? But football is the game that's in danger of eating itself.
I just think that's what the halftime boos were about, and that's why I asked that question. I feel like a lot of Town fans are going through the same thing, and I think we talk about it as if it's just because we've been through shit for a few years since the Premier League. With the Carlos Corbyn year, about that kind of been a slow and steady kind of year-on-year depreciation when it's in our return for money based on our travel up and down the country supporting the team and what we get on the field. I've got my own theory on it. I think VAR in the Premier League's fucked it up for everybody. I think that's ruined Premier League. Nobody watches the Premier League anymore. I don't. I can't stand it. It ruins football. So now, before you had that dream of making it, I know we've been there before, but that dream you've got of making it there, now you're watching it, it's sanitized, it's boring, you can't celebrate a goal because it takes 7 minutes, it's full of tourists. That the epicenter of the Everest of the English Football League now is not anything really anybody wants anymore. So I think that's assimilating down, I guess, and becoming a bigger issue than it was before. That's my theory anyway. But no, that's what it felt like at half time when everybody booed it. I think that they weren't necessarily booing the team, not booing football at Grand, because again, everyone just feels a little bit pissed off about it at the moment. However, England will smash World Cup this year and we'll be fine then. We'll be all fully in after we've seen the American chanting all the way through each and every game. But other than that, that's what we need to save it at the moment. But no, I just thought it was a nice little segue there talking about that, because again, the boos on Saturday, I didn't feel it was based just upon the performance, but things a little bit bigger than that.
I think it's frustration, and you talk about the way football is at the moment. It's very sterile, it's very corporate. I mean, it is at times we're up our own asses. We think we're a Premier League club in the waiting. We're just in League One for a day trip and it'll all be all right. And We've got, all these fancy facilities. And you remember at Town that players used to get out the cars and walk into the ground, used to be able to chat to them, used to be able to get autographs and this, that, and the other. Fans can't get anywhere near the players these days like they used to do. It feels very, very distant, and it's very, very expensive. And that's fine if you're providing entertainment, which is what football should be. But when you see no shots on target over 180 minutes, it's no fucking wonder that fans are getting frustrated. Premier League, I get it as well, because VAR's completely ruined it, and that is just a corporate mess. It's awful, really. I get no enjoyment watching Premier League football now whatsoever. So I'm with you. I agree. I think it's a real shame, but there's no characters in the game like there used to be. There's next to no entertainment. Majority of games, it's just pass it sideways, backwards, and you're just thinking, why are we watching this? But as fans, you keep going, don't you? Andy, he says all this, but he'll be at Wigan, and then when we win at Wigan, he'll be doing what I'm doing. He'll be booking his Wembley hotel in advance, ready to get to that final. So it's just ups and downs of being a fan in it. But everyone seems just a bit meh at the moment, don't they? But a few wins, it could all change. Tony Green's
we've got no choice. They have to get more than a few wins if we're going to get anything out of this season. We're going to do our forecasts of our predictions for the upcoming sort of final quarter of the season. But if we're going to get anywhere, we've now backed ourselves into a corner with 12 losses that we've got to pull our finger out. And like Tony's saying, maybe two teams do lift their performances against us, but it's about time to justify the price tags, boys, because that's understandable.
Do you think clubs do feel like that? I mean, they'll go to the stadium, really nice, shiny facilities. These think that big dog's here. Let's go there and put on a performance. Do you think teams do raise the game against us? I mean, it's easy to say that when you're losing, isn't it? It's an easy excuse, but
no, Nick, I think they do. Like I say, I think they do. I think they do once they've realised we are beatable. I think that first 15 minutes when we're at them, you can see them sit back. But as soon as we take that pressure off, you're giving them faith. That's why it's so important, I think, to take shots on target every 5 minutes. It don't matter if you're miles away. I'll never give Dion Charles shit for blazing one over from 25 yards. I can handle the 25. The 6 yards, I'll be upset. But 25 yards, if you're having a go, I think it just, again, it builds pressure on teams. But Town haven't done that. And when you don't do that, I think you give them a belief that we are beatable. So I think when the games kick off, we are respected. But then as soon as they see that we're not as good as we think we are, and that's why, again, last season we started fine until people realised we weren't that good, got a little bit of tape on us and destroyed us because we were mentally weak. This year, I'm not saying the same thing's happening, but there's been moments where it has been very, very similar. And I think it's that, Nick. I think it's that they expect us to be better than we are. And then when they realise we're not as good as people think, that's when they do up their game. So, yeah, I do think that is an issue. Just a little bit more of a definition in regards to it's not all the way through the games, but they feel the way into it more than other teams do.
James Murgatroyd is capable from mate. I've missed him. I've seen him miss from 2 yard, mate. I won't be confident from 2 yard out, but I think sometimes the crowd as well, like, and it's same. It ain't just Town, but Cowshed Low do a great job trying to get the atmosphere going in it. But they want an atmosphere until Town got back into that game. There was nothing. It was flat, and teams they'll pick up on that as well. They'll say, "You get on top of the fans, it'll be quiet as anything. We'll quiet them down. They'll boo them off at half time. The pressure will be on them, and we can take advantage of this." And I do think there is a bit of that as well. That maybe sometimes we maybe need to try and help them a bit more when we are behind, and that's difficult. But I did. You can see like there was next to nothing until we start to get back into the game, and then people started to join in a bit, didn't they? And I get when you're not really offering much, it's hard. But teams, they can gauge that, they can sense it, they can sense when the crowd's on the home team's back. And I think we're his own worst enemy sometimes at home. I think we do make it a bit of an intimidating atmosphere for the home team rather than the away team, which isn't really how it should be.
No, but to be fair, I've just looked at our home form. 17 games this season, won 10, drawn 5, only lost 2, 33 goals scored, 16 conceded, so plus 17 goal difference. 35 of our 52 points at home. So it's difficult. They may well use the point of the Billy Big Bollocks these lads and look at the shiny stadium and think they may use that in the pre-match conversations. But to be fair, We haven't lost since that debacle against Bolton, in the last couple of minutes of extra time. So at home,
sounds like Lee Grant's linked in here, doesn't it? Look at Andy putting a spin on it like he's coach.
I'm just giving you the facts. I mean, it's away from home that's the issue, isn't it? That's when the big bollocks comes into play for me. That's when we turn up and go, oh, well, the pitch might be a bit dodgy at Stevenage and it might be a bit bobbly. And it's a difficult place to come. But when there's 3 people in the stands, it's a difficult place to come. That's the area that we need to pull our fingers out. That's when we've got to really turn up and show we're a team of well-played, proficient professional footballers. It's the away form for me, not the home form.
Hello, Steve, mate. I'm not jealous at all, by the way, from New Zealand. Good to see you, as always. Dino, not a playoff winning squad. He says recruitment teams got it wrong. Second season running, we struggle against taller, more physical teams, which you need to get out of this league. I agree with that to a point, mate. I think we do struggle. I still think we're lacking physical. Well, we discussed it on the last episode, didn't we, lads, that we need some nastiness in this side. We need to be more physical. And I think we're lacking a bit of pace as well in some areas, particularly at the back. I think we really need to try and address that regardless of what division we're in at the end of the season. But let's get on to the second half anyway. So we had a bit of change of shape, and I thought we grew into the second half. And then Mumba, although I'm still not 100% sold on Ballymumba, I have to be honest, but he does put a good ball in. Ledson comes running in, powers a header in. I think McGoldrick just gave up trying to track him back. I think he thought, sod this, I'll leave him for this one. And Ryan says, thank you, and Ned's it in. Yeah, nice one. So, and then we're back level, and I thought Hardie coming on and Ashia made a real difference. Hardie, might talk about him in a bit more detail in a bit, but just having that focal point up top, someone actually making runs off the ball, running into channels, doing a bit of hold-up play. I thought his movement in the box was really good. So I think he's a really good pickup this summer. And you know what you get with Ashia, and that's that nobody knows what they're getting. So it's just a bit of chaos. He'll run at people. He'll cause problems. He's unpredictable. And it's a great ball to put him in the box, puts it across in a nice little finish from Hardie. And I didn't really think that Barnsley troubled Town that much. They were a good tackle from Bolker last ditch at some point to save us a bit there. But other than that, you didn't really, I don't think Barnsley offered much. And I was listening to one of their podcasts saying that this is a major problem for them, that they just don't offer enough. They seem to shoot themselves in the foot where they're on top in games and then just give games away. And it did kind of seem like that from their point of view. But really encouraging from Hardie, home debut. And long may that continue.
Yeah, I thought Barnsley, the second half, I said to Killer, once McGoldrick went off, they really lacked any focal point, and that's where they're missing Keeler Dunn. You know, that he gave them that, and without him and without McGoldrick in the team, they're going to struggle. And I think the difference for me was Ledson got involved in the second half. Our midfield actually got involved in the game, and I thought Kasumu did really well when he came on as well.
Yeah,
he really drove the ball forward and gave Barnsley something else to think about. And we're talking about the subs, and actually, in fairness to Manning, you know, he brought Hardie on 55 minutes, whatever it was. Within a minute, we'd scored. He brought Ashia on, and within a minute, we'd scored. And Ashia obviously was involved in the goal. And Ledson scored one and had the assist, if you like. But the reverse pass to find Ashia in all that space was great. And you say, you don't know what you're going to get with Ashia, but you have to say, he made the right choice. You know, he picked Hardie out, fantastic ball across. And Hardie's movement, it was only 2 or 3 yards, but his movement over 2 or 3 yards, it's the first time I've seen a striker do that for Town in a long time. Jordan Rhodes was probably the last one that I saw make a move like that for Town to score a goal. And although the keeper got an hand to it, he managed to put his foot through it enough to get in the net. So, yeah, well, I know I'll probably speak about it because I think his view is that this is probably a better victory than people have perhaps given him credit for. But it just goes to show if they get their heads in the right place, they're capable of turning these teams over. The problem is you can't keep relying on one half performances, because if Barnsley had been 2 or 3 up at half time, would have been bollocks, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think Barnsley are in the chasing pack of the playoffs. They've got, I think, 4 games in hand still on us, if I can remember correctly. And the next 6 games are against teams below 12th or something. They've got dross to play. They've had really hard fixtures up until now. A bit alternative to our own, actually, looking at what we've got to come, which we'll go into in a little bit. They're not a bad team. You can see going forward the good. You can see they are a little bit older and they're physically quite big lads. I think they tired in the midfield as well. Not just McGoldrick. I think Connell tired a bit. I think a few of them, big lads, struggled in that second half. Town made the most of it by, again, system change, 4-4-2. That's what it was. I don't care. You can say it's a 4-4-1-1 and Harness kind of, when Hardie came on and then May was taken off before the second goal, we still stayed as a 4-4-2 because Harness was still that second striker. He did drop a little bit deeper at times, but it's a standard 4-4-2. And that's how you bypass a midfield that can't create football passes. That's what you do when you can't create chances from your engine room. You have extra men up top, you get the ball to them and let them do the def running. And with you guys, Ryan Hardie's positioning and his little runs were very, very clever. They were incredibly clever. And like I say, bar Jordan Rhodes, I can't remember another one since then. Dacky Wells, to be fair, used to do it at times. Not as nice, but again, just a proper 9, innit? That's all it is. That's when you explain what number 9 is, it's a guy that's pretty tall but not the tallest. Because then if they're not the tallest, he can still be a little bit fast without being the fastest, and not the strongest but strong enough, and positioning's great, and he's not offside 25 times as we sat through week in and week out with certain other strikers. But no, the system change run the game for us. That and Barnsley tiring. It is a great win. It's a great win for me because, again, if we'd have lost that game, and this is the part that's the best part of it, is that if we'd have lost that game, they'd have been 4 points behind us with 4 games in hand, right? So they would have overtaken us at some point. At half-time, we were under pressure. Whether the fans felt it or not, the players will have. And every single time this has happened over the last 18 months or whatever it is, 20 months now till August last year, we've collapsed each and every time because we aren't a team that can chase anything, or we haven't been a team that can chase anything. I know we've won 2 games with 10 men recently, and that is fantastic. But it's quite different to knowing the pressure of having to stay in that top 6 in the playoff race. We generally fail, or we did last year. As soon as we looked like we were going to fall out of it or could fall out of it, we did. This was one of those moments where we actually stood up. If we were away from home, looking at the form, Andy, like you've mentioned, maybe it would have been a bit different, and maybe I think we'll find out for certain in the next few weeks where we're at in regards to that. But it was a huge stepping stone forward to having a successful end of this season, managing to turn that game around with a system that I think is better from the start. And I just hope, really, really hope Liam Manning believes that as well, and that we do start this way going on, because I'd really want to see Ryan Hardie with Alfie May from the start. Alfie May can be that false 10 as well. He can play as a 9 and then drop in if necessary. He can read that game situation. All this would allow Marcus Harness as well to play deeper. When we did go 4-4-2 for a little bit of time with Alfie May and Ryan Hardie, Harness, okay, played on the right-hand side of midfield, but again, he was so much deeper that he cut in again. He became that central midfielder at times, which meant we could play a nice little football forward, which we didn't do for the entirety of the game with Humphreys and Ledson there in that central midfield, playing as basically 2 defensive midfielders. That second half was positive in the result, but also positive in the way we went about it. And there's a sprinkling there of hope for me, because prior to that, at halftime, I'm looking at us thinking this team doesn't make the playoffs no matter what we try and do. If McGuane's not back anytime soon, which might not be the case considering what's been said today in a press conference. But if he ain't back anytime soon, we're going to have to find something here that's going to work. At halftime, I had no confidence in it. Yet by 90 minutes, I'm like Andy Kay. I'm not quite at Wigan yet, but I'm back on board. And that's quite surprising, because at halftime, I didn't think we would be. So that's where I'm at. I think people are underplaying how this win came about. It's not just the opposition. It's what we had to overcome as a team for the first time in quite a while to manage it. And that's why I was so high after the game on the win.
When you look at the form tables and all, by the way, it was a massive win, because I think I was just looking, in the last 6 games, Town have taken 10 points. Without that, they would have only taken 7. So it would have been a little over a point per game. And then over the last 10, we've taken 14. So it would have been 11. So, you're talking about, in terms of even just adding up the form, it makes a big difference, that victory as well.
And we do have players that's due back. Bojan shouldn't be too far off. What did he say then about McGuane, Ian? Because I hadn't had a chance to listen to that press conference yet. Is he going to, because he said 3 weeks initially, a few weeks, but is it going to be longer, do you think, then?
I'll just find it. I can't remember. It's not as long. Is it end of March or a couple of weeks? Miller's back in training. I know McGuane's might be back in training. Watmore's back in training, but not match fit. Andy might know better than me, but there was everyone's back. Joe Lowe's end of March. Basically, everyone's looking like they'll be back before the end of March, which tells you all we have to do is get into the top 6, because by then, other than the other injuries, there was no mention of Virginio Balka today. That was a bigger downside, that he was apparently seen walking away from the ground with a boot on to protect his foot. Now, I don't think this necessarily means he's fit for Saturday. I feel like it could be a little bit of a let's not tell anyone Balka's injured, because he's so crucial to how we play out. Because that's what happened in that second half as well. Both goals came from central defenders running the ball out instead of kicking it long. Murray Wallace on the first goal to Barley Mumba, who I think's actually better than everyone else gives him credit for, in that I think his defensive work is pretty much spot on. And when it comes to creating moments, again, he was a clever jink to his. He was as clever as McGoldrick's. Yeah, we're all sat here saying McGoldrick's was fantastic. Mumba does exactly the same thing. Okay, doesn't bend it in, but his cross to Ledson is perfectly balanced between the defenders. And the only thing Ledson can do is put that away. I think it's important to pick him out for praise there if you're going to criticise him elsewhere. Because, to be fair, first half he was dreadful on the ball. But the second goal came from Balka driving it out. Again, Balka gives us that drive from central defence, which opens up the middle of the field when you don't have midfielders that can pass the ball. So as long as Balka's fit, I think we might be all right. But no, there was no mention of it today.
I think Balka will be a huge miss, because with nobody really to bring it out from that defence. I think if Balka's out and Watmore's out, I think we're in quite a bit of trouble there.
Well, Watmore is. I'm currently watching. Watmore scored the second goal for Town, and he's still on second half. So, and that was about 10 minutes ago. So he's played at least 55 minutes for Rezzies today. So whether that's going to make him fit or available for the weekend or not, I don't know. It's not a very good goal, but yeah, he's still playing at the minute for the reserve. So there's got to be something there.
And we've got like a couple of on paper winnable, in inverted commas, winnable games against Wigan and Rotherham, haven't we? So hopefully by the time we've come through them, they should be coming back, and well, we might have a chance, maybe. Convincing myself until we lose at Wigan.
You're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. Right, so that moves on. Dave Harriet, I've not ignored your comment, mate, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the player situation with regards to contracts and everything else, and we'll discuss these rumours that's come out about Ashia in a little while. But where we're going to finish then, lads? So we had up and down, haven't we? Form wise, it hasn't been great. We've got the win though. Have we a right to get excited, or are we just being, as usual? Are we just being a bit premature? We've got 12 games left. For my calculations, usually you need about 74, 75 points to guarantee 6th place. So we're going to need to win 7 of these, which gets us 73 points. So we're on the underside of that. To me personally, I think that's going to be quite a tall order. We've got Wigan coming up, Rotherham, Port Vale, Leyton Orient, Mansfield and Wimbledon. Now, they're games to me that I've earmarked as, say, must win, but
must win.
The most winnable. I think we've got to win most of those games, because then we've got Lincoln, Plymouth, Cardiff, Reading. Oh, I mean, we've got a run of Lincoln, Plymouth away, Cardiff, Reading, and Orient. I mean, that is really tough. That is really tough. What are you guys thinking? To me, I think from all those games, I think feasibly we'll probably get about 20 points. Now that puts us on 72 points. That might not be enough. I think we'll be in or thereabouts, but to me, my concern is that we don't have the consistency. We'll win a couple of games and then lose to some like Port Vale away. Do you know what I mean? We just don't have that consistency to get 3 or 4 wins in a row that I think we're going to need at some point. And even if we get in the playoffs, we'll end up against Bolton, and I do not see us getting through Bolton over 2 legs. So my prediction is maybe I'm going to say just scraping the playoffs, but then drop out against Bolton. Gaz, how are you seeing it? I'll wait for Gaz to get off mute. Guys, put your comments in as well. What do you guys think? Do you think we can do it? Because it is a tall, 7. Essentially, we're going to need 7 wins out of 12 here. It's tough going. tough going,
Well,
isn't it? Do you think we can do
do you
it?
want me to share my screen like we talked about? Or
Yeah, if you can, mate, get it up.
yeah,
Mate, get it up.
see.
We can have a
While
proper
he's
look at
doing
it.
that, so of the 12 remaining games, I mean, I've gone 5 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses. So I've got, so that would put us on 70 points. That is 1.5 points per game. Over the last 10 games, we've been 1.4, and over the last 6 games, we've been 1.6. So I'm sort of bang in the middle. I think I've got Wigan down as a draw. We'll beat Rotherham, beat Vale, lose to Lincoln, lose to Plymouth, lose to Cardiff. So even if we beat Wigan and win 3 on the bounce, Wigan, Rotherham, Port Vale, I think we'll lose the next 3. I've got Reading as a draw, beat Leyton Orient. I'll put down we're going to beat Wickham, which I guess is that's a big one. I've said we're going to lose away at Bolton, and then beat Mansfield at home and draw at Wimbledon away on the last day. So even if we win at Wimbledon on the last day and turn that into 6 wins, 1 draw, that still only puts us on 72. And last year, 6th place, Leyton Orient had 78 points. 72 points last year, you would have finished 8th. 75 points, you would have finished 8th. So I still think you're going to want 75, maybe 77 points to end the playoffs, which I'm with Uni. We've got to win 8 games. And I just don't see on our current form how we're going to win 8 games unless our away form transforms miraculously overnight.
Ian?
Yeah. Do you know what? I were quite comfortable leaving the game Saturday thinking we'll make playoffs now, no problem. And I looked at the fixtures that we've got, they're fucking horrific. They're hard. They're hard games because, again, away from home, there's no gimmies for us. We are pretty awful away from home when it comes to trying to win the games. At home, we're good, but then look who we've got to come to play as yet. And I think that's why our form is probably so good, because we haven't played Lincoln yet at home. Lincoln, I think, are going to beat us every single time we play them this year. And if we do meet them in the playoffs, don't think we'll, because I think they'll go up automatically. But to be totally honest, I'd never back us against us because I think they are so much better than we are, unless we've had a wake-up call and our system totally changes. Because like Gaz has mentioned, our points to now, 1.5 over the last 10 games-ish, isn't great. It isn't great, right? You need to kind of be better than that to make the playoffs over the course of a season. And that tells me this current system's not working, so you've got to change something radical. So this, again, is all prefaced on doing something quite different to make it to the end of the season. But going through these, and now I'll do a little bit of a spoiler. We do the driving, me and Matt, obviously. So we've got one for Wigan this week, but I'll tell everyone now. I think we're going to win that game. Wigan, obviously, Joe Taylor can't play. They've got Sessignon, he's suspended. And I can't remember who else. Asamoah, I think, got sent off as well. So they are down quite a few guys this weekend for that game, right? Now, this is about as easy as an away game as we can get between now and the end of the season for me. In that, okay, they're not fighting for the life, not particularly, are they? I don't know. But with the players that they've got missing, they aren't going to target this game so much. Joe Taylor is going to be what helps them for the rest of the season. They'll know he's not going to play it, and they'll try and do the best, but I don't think they'll be targeting this game, whereas we have to win it. So I've a comfortable one there. Rotherham at home, I thought Rotherham were terrible away from. I thought they were the worst team we've played all season, bar Plymouth at home. I know they've got the shit together now, Plymouth, but when we played them at home, they were terrible. Rotherham away were awful. Port Vale, looking a little bit better with Andrew Gray. They've got a few decent players now, but again, I've got us to win that one. So I'm with you guys. We'll win next 3 games, 9 points, fantastic. However, 2 of them are away games, and we've not been fantastic away from home, so it's not like a safe win either, is it? I think if they were at home, I'd be much more confident. So 9 points there. Lincoln, I don't think we're going to beat. I think that's a defeat. I've got a draw away at Plymouth, lose to Cardiff at home. I think they're far better than us in all departments. Reading, I've got down as a draw. However, that's a potential win, right? And I've gone with a range here, which I'll explain in a second. Orient away, I think we have to win that. Again, first game of the season, we battered them. I think we're a good matchup for them. But again, away from home, what we're going to do there. Wickham at home, I've got down as a draw. I think Michael Duff won't lose that game. They'll draw that game. Bolton away, not a chance in hell. We've got Mansfield Town at home, comfortable win. And Wimbledon away from home, which I've gone with a draw, but who knows? It could be a win. So my ranges have Town finish on 71 points if we draw both Reading and Wimbledon. But if we win both of those games, it puts us on 75 points. Now, ChatGPT has predicted us to finish on 72 points. I've gone through every predictor I can find anywhere, and only one has us finishing 6th this season, and that's Opta's. Opta has us finishing 6th by 1.6 points over Stevenage. However, at the beginning of the season, I think Opta had us finishing either as champions or second by quite a fair way. So their model has been somewhat, their supercomputer has been somewhat inaccurate up until this point. And I still think they haven't quite just rectified that problem just yet. However, over the last 5 years, something Gaz has touched on. So if we finish on my range, 75 points max or 71 points, last year, 78 points for 6th, 76 points for 6th before that, 77 before that, 83 the year before that. The lowest points total since 2020 is 74 points, which was Oxford in 2021. And now that is tight, isn't it? Even 75 points with one slip up here and there. I think it all goes to show we are very much at the point of the season now where games are very much cup finals and you have to just go into each and every game. I know it's a cliche talking like that, but honestly, there isn't much wiggle room here. When you look at, we've got to play Cardiff, that we have to play Lincoln, and we've got to play Reading. They're another decent team on the outskirts of the playoffs. This is very much, very, very much, very, very tight. And already, I think realistically, we're asking for quite a low points total for us to make it in. Never mind what we're going to do when we get there, but just to make it in. And to be honest, I didn't expect it to be like this, but I didn't realise how tough the fixtures are for Town between now and May.
Honestly, I could see Huddersfield Town winning Wigan, drawing against Lincoln at home, but then drawing against Rotherham at home, because that's what Huddersfield do. We just don't have the consistency. We'll win at Wigan, we'll think, right, come on, let's win the next two, put a marker down, and then draw 1-1 with Rotherham at home. It's the most Huddersfield of Huddersfield things to do in the world. Andy, what are you thinking, mate, points-wise? Can we do it or not?
Right, drama queen bipolar meter has now come back into full force. Having endured the first half against Barnsley, we're now right on the crest of the wave after walking away 2-1. So here's what I think will happen. We win Saturday, we beat Rotherham, we beat Port Vale, we draw with Lincoln City, because I think we can manage to irk that result out. I think we draw Plymouth. I think we get hammered by Cardiff. I think we beat Reading because we beat them comfortably in the away game. I think we win at Leyton Orient. I think we draw against Wickham. I think we draw against Bolton Wanderers, please. And then we smash the living daylights out of Mansfield Town and Wimbledon to get a massive total of 25 points. That gives us 77 points, and we slide comfortably into 6th place.
I'll have a pint of what you've been drinking.
Yeah, me too.
You're saying we're only going to lose once between now and the end of the season, right? Okay.
Yeah. You look at his form.
We've got 7 away.
Look at his form. Look at his form. Right, so that's 15 points then, isn't it? You know, we win everything at home, don't we? So forget who's turning up. We'll say we've got 15 points at home. So that's only another 10 points to get from those 7 away games to get us 25 points.
I think
he won't go to Wigan at half time. He won't go to Wigan at half time on Saturday. And he's now saying we're only going to lose one.
We're going up as champions.
We're winning them all. Problem, Andy. That's why season ticket prices can go up, because you pay it, mate. This is your problem.
Because I'm there. It's my team.
Yeah, I think
55 years of Town fan.
Yeah. I think the one thing that's disappointing, no matter how you look at this, all the different connotations we've come up with there, that here we are coming into March, and right now it's not in our own hands. Now that's the thing that really disappoints me with the investment we've had, with the squad we've had. We're at this stage of the season, and even if we win up, we're probably still going to rely on other people cocking up to be able to get us into the playoffs. It's absolutely mental.
It's a massive failure, mate. We'll talk about top 2, won't we, start season? How many points are we off Lincoln? Is it like 20 points or something? I mean, if you look at what Lincoln have spent and what we've spent, that's a massive failure, isn't it? No matter how we look at it.
That was then. This is now, lads. Let's get back on the bipolar drama gravy train here. You've got to look at look what's Manning done since he's been here. 7 games, 4 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. If he repeats that type of form, so wins twice as many as he loses, I think I did try to do some sort of calculation, but it was a bit too much for me, Ed, so I never bothered. So I reckon if he continues that type of form, what we're going to win, we need to win 7. We'd probably end up winning 7 of the games. We'd probably end up losing 2 or 3 of them, maybe drawing 1 or 2. I mean, that's what needs to happen, as you are rightly saying, for us to actually cement our place in the playoffs.
But I'm not sure
whether that's within our hands or not. But
75 points doesn't cement shit. That's the problem. on
But
track record the last few years.
It's been a tight league all year, hasn't it? It's been a tight league all year. There's been teams beating other teams that you wouldn't expect. So I think it's going to be less this year than has been in the past. You know, it's not going to need 83 points as in previous seasons. There is a team romping away with it. So I think it's much closer than it was over the last few seasons.
It's not close if you Cardiff or fucking Lincoln, though, is it?
But okay, so there's always going to be two teams at the top of the league, isn't there? You got to look at what's happening with the rest of them. All right, they're gone. Forget them. They're going up. It's about those 3rd to 6th places, and the rest of the league. We've been moaning about the fact that we've been closer to the relegation zone at points during the season than we have been to the promotion spots, or even despite us being in there. So it's a tighter league. So I don't think it will be as high as the 75, 76 points. I think it will be less. I'm probably wrong, but I've got my positive head on. So
how dare you be positive, Andy, on this podcast, mate? We don't. I think 75 will be enough this season because, like you say, it's close. But I have reservations about whether we'll get 75 points. I've got, how many away games have we won? Have we lost 10 out of 16 away games or something like that? Are we really going to change that to the degree that we get the wins required out of these last 12 games? I have doubts. I have real doubts. But
you're right. If we don't, then we don't get in. You're absolutely right. So that's what I said last. We're in a position where we can afford to go. Okay, let's go for it. Let's try and play some football that gets us into a position where we can win games, rather than this turgid passing it about at the back stuff that we've been seeing up to this point. Whether the setup's right, as Killer's talking about, I'm not tactical enough to know whether it's right or it's wrong. But there are last Saturday, and like giving Killer the credit that he's due, he's absolutely right in that was a really good performance. That was a really good win because we haven't come from behind to get a win in God knows how long. So it's got to keep going, and we ain't going down. So why the chuff not play and see where we can end up with? Because the alternative is the boring, turgid football that we've had for most of the season. So we've got it's the cliche of how many cup finals might we have left? Something like 15 cup finals left. If you get into playoffs and get through to the final. There's no alternative, because if he doesn't, then people will do as they've done on Saturday, and they will start to vote with their feet. They won't turn up if the product's not good enough. So there's no alternative.
By the end of March, we'll know, won't we? Because you've got the 3 games. We need to take at least 7 points out of the next 3, if not 9, to even have a chance of getting to that 75-point total. And then you've got Lincoln, Plymouth, Cardiff. If we can't take 3 or 4, if we can't take 4 points out of them 3 games, 75 is not happening either, is it? So by the end of March, I think we'll probably know whether we're going to be in the playoffs or not. I think by the end of March.
Are we saying if we lose at Wigan, it's all over? Are we on the precipice?
Even on Andy's points, then becomes 72 points. Even on Andy's.
No, that because that tells you about the mentality of the squad. That tells you about the character and the psychological damage that's been done to the squad, and that's what Lee Grant believed was the issue. And I think that is probably still the factor with them at the minute, that they haven't got the mentality. I mean, Ledson stepped to the front in the last few games. He's had a couple off, and then he came back, and you've seen more of what you'd expect as a captain. But we ain't seen, like we talked about at the beginning, we ain't seen the characters. We ain't seen the McGuane's pushing what's his name off the ball, and we ain't seen that fight. We ain't seen that battle. But we need to now, because if we don't see it, League One forever, aren't we? So it's about time that they pulled their fingers out and started earning them high wages, and that's through character and resilience and giving it for the shirt. Because the tepid stuff we've had up to this point will not get customers coming back through the door, and ultimately that's what Kev needs. Because if he don't, he can't invest. We don't sell season tickets and so on. I know we're going to come on to them. If we don't sell, if the product is not generating enough income, he cannot invest as much money as he would want to. So we're stuck. So we've got to give it everything we've got to get somewhere near. And I, whether it creates a platform for next season or if we don't go up, I don't know. But faint heart never won fair lady, and we can't afford for a team of faint hearts anymore. So let's see what we've got Saturday.
I hope we win the Bolton game because my missus, it's around our anniversary, and because she's been a good lass this year, I said, you know what, I'll treat you. I'll take you to. But I hardly ever take her to a football game, which she's really pleased about, by the way. But I said, go on, I'll take you to Bolton. I'll treat you for his anniversary. So if we get absolutely battered there, I'm going to be bad book. So come on, Town, get at least make it an entertaining game and get a draw, eh? Because otherwise, I'm going to be we're both going to be dead miserable. Right. Player situation then. So Dave Harriott mentioned about Ashia potentially off. Looks like a bit of agent talk, does that to me, to try and get a decent move. I mean, bloke's hardly playing for us. I can't see him suddenly tearing up Scottish Premiership. But unfortunately, when you have decent youngsters, it doesn't take long, especially in League One where they start getting linked away, does it? And I think, am I right, guys, that he signed a contract extension till 27, so he does have a bit of time on his contract. Am I correct?
It's not sure. So yeah, with Ashley, you mean, Nick? Is that what you're talking of? Yeah. Well, apparently, the company or the how best to describe this? He played in an academy, a Fox Summit Academy, which is kind of like not affiliated with a professional club. When they announced him signing with Town, it was to 2027, or that he signed a new contract to 2027. However, it's quite unclear because everywhere else it's referred to as he was out of contract this summer. So it's a little bit grey. Nobody really knows whether he is under contract now or not. The only thing I would say is I think he could sign for a club in Scotland after January, can't you? You know, like if you're out of contract, you can go overseas from January in the final year of your contract. Football Manager teaches people well. However, so the fact that hasn't happened suggests to me that maybe there is something in that he has another year of his contract. It'd be nice if anybody cleared it up, wouldn't it, from club? It wouldn't be that hard for them just to say something about it. But with the stuff that, was it O'Rourke put out on Twitter, it sounds like agent talk. Joe Taylor's kind of was a similar thing, wasn't it, before he was sent out on loan to Wigan? I think this is how agents try and get their clients' names out and about. But to be totally fair, boys, with Cameron Asher, he, to me, deserves a start in this team. I don't know what more a young lad has to do to get a start in that he's scoring goals, he's getting assists. And it's okay saying, well, it's working when he comes off the bench, that's fine. But he'll want to play 90 minutes. He don't want to play 10 minutes at the end. And now there's a post on Down at the Mac today, wasn't there, from a reputable source or one that's been accurate previously, suggesting that he's been offered £1,000 a week. And now we don't know if that's true or not, if it's just nonsense from Down at the Mac. But if that is the truth and he has only been offered £1,000 a week, you can't blame him for looking elsewhere with the goals he's scoring and the opportunities he's creating and his age and the fact that people could sign him potentially on a free this summer, bar the Bosman ruling. But he's only been here with us for a couple of years. And I'm pretty sure that also comes into the factor when you're looking at what you get compensation-wise. So for me, if Cameron Asher is out of contract this summer, there's going to be suitors elsewhere that we won't be able to or be willing to match, I think. Because if we would have been, and if he was so important to us, surely he'd be playing more than he is. Will Alves got the start on Saturday over Cam Asher. And now you can look at Cameron Asher's game and you know why he's not getting picked. You can see it's because defensively he's not as solid as other players in the team. And that's the issue I think Manning has with him. And that the team he picks often has David Kasumu in it because defensively he's pretty strong. I think that's the issue we have with Asher. And I don't think he fits a Manning system. Not that he can't fit and not that he can't create moments. I think obviously he can. He's doing it now. But I don't think he's a type of guy Manning wants in his team. And because of that, even if he's out of contract this summer, I'd be very surprised to see him here in August, to be totally honest. I think with the ability of his play and what he's actually done and the fact that he's still not getting chances, I'd be very, very surprised if he's here over the summer. And I do think he could go to the Premiership and do well in Scotland because that is really not a great level. And the way he plays is I think, fitting for it. But he's a quality player and I think he's going to have a great career. It's just a shame it's probably not going to be with us because I think of all our team, if you asked most fans who's the most underutilised, I think we'd all say Ashley, wouldn't we? And I think that tells you everything about it.
It's one of the only ones that actually entertain me. Well, why are we letting go of the only players that actually get us off our seats? And this is somewhere else when it comes to the fans and satisfaction. We've got a youngster there, come up through the youth system. I know he's not like homegrown necessarily, but you need to see these players coming through and us keeping hold of them for a few seasons. Let them have a go. To just build him up and let him go. I mean, yeah, if we get a few million quid for him and we use that to transform the squad, fair enough. But I can't imagine we'd get a lot of money for him with his contract situation anyway. So get him playing. The lad just wants to go forward. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I did see a post comparing him to Doku at one point, which and then I kind of switched off. I think, come on, let's reel it in a little bit. I wouldn't say he's lightning quick, and I wouldn't say he's got even a tenth of Doku's skill, but he is a good player for this level. He's young, he's enthusiastic, and he's got lots of room for development. I do worry about the physicality side of things in the Premiership, Ian. That's what I was referring to really with the Scottish Prem, that he'll get barged off the ball more often than not. But you're right, it's not a great level, is it? So he might do well. I mean, if that's true and he's on £1,000 a week, then that's absolutely scandalous if that's what he's been offered. When I saw a post, and I don't know how accurate this is, but it was saying Bobby Wales on potentially £8,000 a week wage. And if that's the case, then the world's gone absolutely mad on it. So it'd be a shame if he goes. I want to see more. I want to see more players like that at Town. Players that actually excite me, that you don't know what's coming, that can just whip a ball into top corner from edge at box. That's what we all pay the money and through the turnstiles to see. Not sideways, backwards, industrial, decent defensively, but that's not going to excite anybody. That's not entertaining. Ashy is entertaining. That's what we want to see. Out of contract players, we've got Mikael Miller. I mean, I like Mikael Miller, but we never see him. So we can't unfortunately keep a player who's injured 80% of the time. So it's a good night Vienna for me. Eccleston, I mean, no. Anybody?
I'd be amazed.
He's strange with Eccleston, because at the end of last year he played a couple of games, I think, and did okay. And he's like just fallen off the face of the earth at this point. And he started the season having a few games with first team, didn't he, in pre-season? I think he was around and abouts and in training and whatnot, but just never really kicked on. It's really strange with him, because when he has played for us, I think he's looked okay. But again, a couple of loans not done too great, and it looks like he's unfortunately going to make his way down the footballing ladder shortly for some reason. Because I think there's been moments where if we deem him useful now, we would have played him, and we haven't. Even Jay Sway kind of came in front of him at some point, didn't he? Whereas previously it was Eccleston. So no, I think he's on his way. But with Mikael Miller, it's a shame, because again, on his day when he plays well, Town play really, really well. He's pretty much unplayable once he gets up to speed. But he is, I think, the most injury-prone player I've ever seen in a Town shirt. Not in regards to getting a really bad injury that's out for a year and a bit, but just little niggles that are out for quite a while, and then little niggles and he's out for quite a while again. He's going to have to be on his way. And you won't be surprised if he had a really good season next year somewhere in this division and scores quite a lot of goals in a successful team, because he does have the quality. He just doesn't have the longevity. And to me, if you can just take Mikael Miller's wage and give a bit of it to Cameron Ashier to keep him, that's what I'll be doing. That's how I'll be going about it, because he's going to be fit and available. And I don't think he's that much of a downgrade, albeit quite a different player. I understand that. But I think that's what I'll be doing, because Mikael Miller's, unfortunately for us, spent more time in the treatment room, hasn't he, than on the field. Yeah. And Reece Ely. Who?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, who's he? Honestly, the fact when he went to Barrow, Johnny Gillespie on
Chelsea, even though
to be fair,
he's only played 4 games or whatever.
To be fair, guys, it's probably unfair of us trying to say that Jordan Rhodes was the last striker we had like Ryan Hardie, because in all the 27 minutes we've seen of Reece Ely, he looks like a really good footballer. He looks like he can score a lot of goals, but we knew when we signed him that he was only coming to us because of his injury record. He did really well at Toulouse, and he went to Watford, and obviously he scored a couple of times and he did play, I think, but it wasn't obviously fantastic for him in that his body was falling apart. It's just a shame we've not got to see him too much, because there is a player there, but he's just, again, he's not going to be available for any team at any point. So when he signed for Barrow, was it Barrow he went to on loan this year from us? Yeah, Johnny Gillespie on the other Takes That Chance pod suggested that if he plays something like 280 minutes, he'd go on a Nick-style run. He's played, less than a half of football, or less than one game of football. That's unfortunately Reece Ely's. We won't be, I don't think we'll be seeing him again, because I don't even think he was mentioning Liam Manning's roundup of injuries today, to be totally honest. And I know he's at Barrow, but I'm guessing he's back with us now. So, yeah. No, I think he'll be on his way.
And then we have the loan players. Would you keep any of them potentially? Would you try and sign any of them at the end of the season? So we've got Humphreys, Hardie. I think if we got promoted, possibly could look at, but otherwise no. Alves, Feeney, Wales. Are we looking at any of those, or is it a Gaz shaking his head? Or clear out and go again?
We can't afford Ryan Hardie, even if we get promoted to the Championship. I'm not sure we could afford him. And I think I'm just looking at this list here. So you've got Miller, Eccleston, Healy, and Ashier possibly. That hardly leaves room. Bear in mind, you then got Kane, Iopenda, Taylor, Chapman to come back in. So the 4 that go back from their loan spell, we have 4 already in contract coming back. We're only getting rid of 3 or 4 players. That does not leave the room for the kind of change that Manning probably thinks this squad needs. You know, last year we got lucky, didn't we? What we have 8, 10, 12 or something out of contract. We're not in that position now, and some of the people we've got knocking about, some of those that are out on loan are on mega money, aren't they? So be interested to see how Iopenda gets on. You know, there's a lady at work who's a Notts County fan, and she's raving about him. So be interested to see whether he actually gets a chance when he comes back, or is he going to be straight in and straight back out again?
I think he's till 2027, so he's got 2 years left, I think, beyond this next one. And we've been down to see him a couple of times at Notts County, and they absolutely love the pants off him. And he seems to be thriving. He didn't want to come back in the January window, understandably, because he was loving it, and you can see him developing physically. You just got to hope that there's from my perspective anyway, there's a spot for him. Whether there is or not, we don't know. But yeah, he's going to come back, isn't he? The only one that I would want to keep, Alves maybe, for a bit of trickery if you can be consistent. But can you afford that sort of luxury player in a League One team? Probably not. And you're right about Hardie. I don't see how we could afford him. I think he would be an excellent signing, but I think he would get suitors from further up the Championship table than ourselves. So I think he'd probably be in demand, and I doubt we'll be able to afford him. You're right.
Joe Taylor, what happens with him then? So he's obviously gone in really good form, but he's on mega money in, and he's here till what, 2029, is it? So is he comes back in, found a bit of form? Do we start him, or is it a case of, look, we try and cash in on it? Is scoring goals? Do we try and cash in, recoup some money, and use it to bolster the remaining squad? What do we do?
There is no way he's not back with us in the summer and given pre-season. I just can't see it at all. Liam Manning's not had the chance to work with him. I think it's quite different, and I think if you're asking this question of Herbie Kane, that's quite a different thing. I think Herbie Kane's gone out because Liam Manning doesn't think he fits. And I'd be very surprised if, again, when Herbie Kane comes back, if he still stays with us for next season. I don't think he's in Manning's plans whatsoever, whereas Taylor, I think, is quite different. If a guy's scoring goals like he is at the moment, which is pretty much for fun in a poor team, you've got to give him a go. There's no way he won't be given a go, so he'll come back in. And I'm looking forward to seeing it, because, again, I think this team, as it is at the moment, and like you say, with quite a few, or only a few out of contract in the summer, there can't be wholesale changes next season. So I still think next year it'll be 2 up top as well, or a 4-2-3-1, which is a front 3 effectively, if you go with more winger profiles, as Liam Manning likes to call it. I think you've got to give him a go. You have to give him a go, but we'll be a very much different team next year. I think it's more interesting looking at players that don't necessarily fit within what I think Manning likes. Either like Anthony Evans, for example. His town career has never really kicked on at all. It's never really started, and he's injured a lot. Is he somebody you look at moving out to try and bring somebody else in who will fit Manning's system? I think it's going to be quite an interesting one. But there's 14 games left for these. I think 14 games left. I'm saying there's 14 games left. There's 12 games left. 12 games left. There's 12 games left for people that aren't quite working out in a town shirt to get the shit together and to put something down as a marker for them to be given a chance next season. Your players like Anthony Evans, Joe Loss, to be fair, is going to be a no matter what. But we're pretty light on fullback. You've got Sorensen and Gooch, and you've got players all across the field where, again, when money isn't necessarily tight, but you are quite full, you're going to have to move other players out other than just the ones that are out of contract. So it's going to be, I think, an interesting end to the season, not just trying to chase 6th down, but seeing who kind of gets into a little bit of form at the right time of the season. But isn't it funny, boys? When the weather gets a little bit nicer, like today, we're at 15 degrees. I were down Buxton today. It was right nice. It was 15 degrees all over walking around. But the weather gets like this, and then different players start performing a little bit better once it's a little bit drier, once the ground's a little bit better, once it's not quite as cold. It's not that Tuesday night away at Burton Albion or whatnot. It'll be an interesting one to see how it goes, but we need to do something, because like you boys say, even if we make this top 6, I don't think this team's got enough to get it done. And I don't think it'd have enough to get it done next season, even if it does go downhill rapidly from this point on without a lot of changes. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's like Dino said, we need more physicality in the side. We need more physicality. To my mind, we need sort of top-end, up-and-coming, really promising League 2 players or proven League 1 players who are gritty, determined, know what it's about, not afraid to get stuck in at the tackle, wanting to impress. That's what we need. Whatever Lincoln's doing, whatever their model is, copy theirs, because they're doing exactly what we should be doing. Signing players for low money, developing them, moulding them into a really cohesive team unit. And that's what we need to be doing. I personally like your Ruben Ruskins, who's never going to do out for us. Try and get rid of them. Dion Charles, I'll be getting rid, but who's going to take him on his money? It's not going to happen, is it? I don't think so. There's going to be quite a few players that we're stuck with, and it is a big job. I wouldn't want to be Chris Markham, really, going into next pre-season. I've got a big job on. But guys listening, who would you keep? Who would you let go? It's a tough one. We say we've still got 12 games left, so let's hope they can step up, and we'll see where we are at the end of the season. So that brings us on to ATT minutes, and there's always a lot of topics discussed. The main one being season card prices for next season. So according to the minutes, 12,200 sold, which is 2,000 down on last season, but generated $1 million more in revenue. But around 2,000 of those were under 14. So actually, you're talking just over 10,000 season tickets sold that brought in any money. It's not a lot, is it? Look at it, really. Yes, we're in League One, and you do look at the other clubs and attendances. But if you look at where we were, 10,200, it's not great. It's not great. It looks like there's going to be a rise by 3% in line with inflation for early bird, and then it depends where we're going to be as to how that's the other event going to be increased, whether in the Championship or League One. And the HDSA conducted a survey of the fans. I think about 600 responded, which is about 5%, 5-6% response rate if you judge it on that kind of attendance, which is pretty good. Usually on surveys, you get 2-3% response rate, so that's not actually that bad at all. And most people said they'd be keen for the price range between 350, 400 range. But then you get onto things like the under 14s. So will that stay for free? Probably not. And they were discussing under 23 price plans and over 65, saying that there should be bigger discounts for those fan groups. But there's nothing been confirmed. Guys, look, where are we with this? It's obviously it's awkward and we don't know what division we're going to be in, but we can only judge it, personally, I can only judge it based on this season's entertainment value. And I've got to be honest, raising prices again after this season, when we've had a big drop-off, yes, I know that bleeds into funds available for the squad and the financial regulations, but you can't keep increasing season ticket prices when the product isn't getting any better. Otherwise, attendances for me will drop even lower. Ian, go to you first, mate.
Yeah, I've got to be careful.
I know.
It's a bold strategy. The club reckon the club's perspective on this is obviously they want to keep it as affordable as they can whilst also making the most money for the club, because in their opinion, the more money the club can make, the more they can spend on the players and make the product on the pitch better, right? And the justification of the price increase on season tickets suggested that they made £1 million extra. I think we can throw back the question of catering and how that is affected by it, in that you've got so many thousand less in the stadium every week over the course of the season, have we actually made more money or less money compared to having those extra people in the stadium? I know one point was that they had 4,000 not turning up to games, and that was an issue, and they thought the season tickets were undervaluing the actual product, and that by charging more, they might have a more engaged fan base, and a more engaged fan base in basic economics makes experience better and all. I understand that. Most of us understand that. But there's so many other things in play here, such as taking the stadium on. The stadium's always run at a loss. So you've got a bigger issue there as well. You've got to earn more money for the club to be able to cover the extra loss on taking the stadium on without the Giants and without the council. And now, obviously, Town must have done many, many fiscal studies into this. We don't exactly know what their forecasts are and where they expect to make extra money to cover that the historical losses that the stadium's made. But season ticket prices obviously were a part of that. For me, as HSA chair, obviously we have a view that we want all Town fans to be able to afford to go to watch the games. And now Town did keep the lower north stand cheaper, more affordable than elsewhere, to try and bridge that gap. I understand that, but I personally are of the opinion that I'd rather a full stadium with fewer people with cheaper season tickets, the Dean Hoyle approach, because I think the atmosphere helps the football club in a non-fiscal way, in that the players perform better because of it. And I think when you look through the best seasons we've had supporting Town, it was with a full stadium with a better atmosphere. And when you get to the Premier League, it takes care of itself. But prior to that, before Dean Hoyle made season ticket prices much more affordable, attendances were dropping out of their arse, if we remember. I think a lot of people might have forgotten what was happening. But we played Millwall one night on a Tuesday night midweek. I think we scored and won 1-0 in the fog, and there were only 7,000 or 8,000 there. There were next to nobody there. And it wasn't too long after Dean Hoyle decided, through his own research, that the best way to go about it was to do it his way. And obviously we've, as Town fans, benefited from more affordable season tickets for such a long time that I still think it's quite a shock for us as well, to even though we understand other clubs pay this amount, and this is what most fans have to pay, for us it seems a little bit off because for so long we didn't. But this is the club's direction, and again, it's the right that they have to do so. And making money is not bad if it's put back into the playing squad, and that's what modern football is. Maybe that's why there's a little bit of a disconnect between fans generally and the football clubs as a whole. But the minutes show that the club is sticking with its policy, or plan to do so at this moment in time. And only time will show whether it's the right thing to do. I think an inflation-linked increase, to me, isn't really an increase, personally. I understand that. So if that is all that's happened for me, I don't actually see it too much of a rise. But I am worried about the apathy setting the fan base to see how many we sell next year, because I'm one of those, Nick. I like playing football still on weekends. So my season ticket this year is the upper tier of the Riverside. I kind of have to sit there next to Gaz because he's my only friend that goes that they can go with. And also you get the best view of the pitch. So for us to do this, you get a nice view and you can work out what's happening tactically and whatnot. But it's 460 quid, I think, with a V12 finance for me this season. Whereas I've missed Tuesday night games because Lucy goes, my wife, she studies at the moment, so I can't do midweek games. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, do you know what? It's actually probably worth me just getting a ticket game by game, and I'll end up me playing more football next year and I'll miss out. But that wouldn't have been the case if it was cheaper. The problem is, in business as a whole, it's so much more expensive to bring customers back in. That's basic economics, isn't it? It's more expensive to regain custom rather than to keep it. And if I'm considering checking out a little bit, and Nick, you sound like you are, Andy won't go into Wigan, we aren't the only people feeling like this. So it will not only be an interesting summer to see how Town go on field with the players and whatnot, but our season ticket prices go, season ticket sales go, because I just think the apathy as a whole is there. A promotion would probably solve it though. So maybe we need to revisit this in May when we've lifted the EFL League One trophy down at Wembley, because I think that'd change everything. But I think that's probably the only thing that can change it.
I mean, I wasn't there. I've obviously read the minutes. There wasn't a lot. To be honest, it felt a bit light on detail, really. I don't know whether the minutes were edited heavily. I guess you can't say killer, but it felt like a bit of a nothing meeting, really. The club are clearly emboldened. They took in their eyes, a brave decision to whack the prices up. Financially, that has paid off for them. So they're several £1 million better off than they were if they'd left it as it was. So in their eyes, they made the right decision. they're grumbling already about under 14 tickets being free and people not coming, and that makes it difficult to transfer into other people for other and all of that nonsense. So they're already revving up to knock the free under 14s on the head. Like if it's an inflation-linked rate, I think you're going to struggle to argue it. Everything else has gone up by inflation, so it's gonna. I found that the announcement around the catering a real odd one. Why on earth, in the current environment, have you signed a 10-year contract for any kind of supply provision? I find that absolutely mind-boggling. I wouldn't dream of signing a contract for the business I work in for 10 years. No way would I commit my business and my revenues to a 10-year agreement. I find it absolutely staggering. I'm sure they'll tell me there's some strong fiscal reason for do so, but you look at the last time we did a 10-year deal, it was absolutely shit for 10 years because they were tied up like a kipper. So I find that all a bit weird as well. So yeah, it did really tell us how season tickets are going up. They told us if we go up to the Championship, forget inflation, we're going to be whacking them up by more than that. But of course, it'll be the old early bird advantage one. So take advantage of early bird, whether we get promoted or not, doesn't really matter. But I think, as we've probably mathematically proved, getting promoted is going to be on a bit of a wing and a prayer at the minute.
Yeah, I think the catering wise, I'm assuming it's just because they're cheap, guys. I think they talked about reduced costs through bulk purchasing because they're a big company. I mean, they can't be much higher. £4.20 for a Maltesers grab bag in stadium. We're going to need to have a bit more realistic prices, I think, if people are going to buy some of this stuff. So we'll see on that one. I don't know. I think for me and for people like me, I live a bit of a distance away from ground. I can't go on Tuesday nights because I've got my taekwondo. I've got young kids. I've got a missus that plans every single weekend out for me, fills a diary, so I never even get a look in on a lot of weekends. So do you know what I mean? Like for people like me, it makes no financial sense whatsoever to pay 450 to 500 quid for a season ticket. You try and get to the games you can, but it gets to a point where it just ain't worth it. And I just don't want it to be the norm, like what we saw on Saturday with an half-empty ground, because it does nobody any favours whatsoever. The atmosphere is poor, and that's nobody's fault. I'm not pointing a finger at Cowshed Law. It's just so hard to generate an atmosphere when there's nobody there. The catering, no one's going to be buying that. There's not enough people around. Yeah, all right, H-Town's, there's people in there, but I just think they've got to be a bit cleverer than just keep raising prices and look at where we are and try and think of ways to get more people in that ground. And it's not easy, and the club will point to it that we're in the middle point of League One in terms of pricing, which is fair enough. But like you said, we've been used to low prices for so long, to then suddenly up it in one massive rise is still quite a shock, I think, to a lot of people. So to then raise them again, I mean, if it's only inflation, fair enough, but to raise them again, if we don't go up and the majority of this season's been poor football, I think he's asking for trouble. We could be back to 8,000 in ground again before long. So I would say just think about it and be careful, because we don't want to be in that situation again, because it's just not nice. It's just not nice for anyone sat in a half-empty ground every single game, is it? So I don't know. Andy, have you any points? Did anything come out to you?
Nothing to add. I've worked it out. If it goes up by 3%, it's an extra 15 quid for me. But I'm lucky enough to be able to absorb that, no problem at all. Not everybody else is going to be able to do that. It could price some people out of being able to go, and you might end up getting the people buying the tickets on a match by match basis. But if the product is good enough, people will pay the price. The problem, as we've said, is the product does not match the enhanced prices that we've had to pay. I run my own business. I can't charge more unless I'm adding more value or offering a different service, and that's what they've done this season. We're sort of retrospectively discussing season tickets, aren't we? Yeah. The hike was quite incredible, really, but it's got them an extra £1 million. You could argue whether it has or it hasn't. It's the age-old debate, isn't it? The quality of the product. I think Kev's tied his hands behind his back with the statement that he made in 2023 that we cannot raise season ticket prices unless we increase the value to you. So that's the thing that he shot himself in the foot with that statement. That's forever going to come back to haunt him, whatever he's at the club. However, we're not being as successful as we want us to be. So, lucky enough to be able to afford it. So we will. It's not just about the football for me. It's time spent with me, my family, and my missus and my son going to games and stuff like that. So it's not just about that. It's a shared family thing for us. So, I'd probably pay more to keep that going for long enough to make the memories type of thing. So, but ultimately, if you're going to charge more, you've got to offer a better product, and that dichotomy is there. So we're always going to be having this debate. So they've got to sort something out on and off the pitch for me.
They rely on people's habits, don't they? It's a family affair. We all like it is with me, to be fair. I sit next to my mum or dad, and whichever one could be bothered to go with me and bear it. But I'm going to try and get my dad on here for one of these because if you think I'm on, you wait till he comes on here. But it is, and that's what it's about for me as well, mate. Is spending time with your family and those memories. That's what you go for more than the football. But people will find other stuff to do when it gets to the point where it's too expensive. And like you say, it's very hard then when people do leave to get them back again. It's 10 times harder. So we'll see. I think they're saying they continue looking into safe standing as well, but that's a complex issue. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. And there was quite a bit about disabled supporters and trying to get a potential meeting place for them. And there was something about disabled supporters getting tickets as well. Separate line for that. There's a trial of a sensory quiet hour in the club shop. I would say it's quiet most of the time in the club shop, to be fair. But yeah, it's good that they're trying to do these things to make it more inclusive for everybody. Can't be a bad thing. So the last point, guys, let's look ahead then to Wigan. Ian, I know you do your look ahead, mate, but end of the day, Wigan down near the bottom of the league. They won it last 5 games. They haven't got Taylor available, obviously. Those 2 players suspended for the red cards. They've only scored 34 goals. They're one of the lowest scorers I think they're the 4th lowest scorers in the division. So this is a game that there's no question about it. We have to go and win. It's not something we like doing away from home, but if we don't win here, surely I think even the most positive, optimistic fan would say playoffs are looking unlikely.
I didn't realise they were as bad as
silence.
I didn't realise they were as bad as that. Charity FC riding into town on Saturday. I think we all know when you were reeling out the list of stats, then we all know what we were thinking, they're due to win soon, aren't they? And who's arriving on the right horse? Huddersfield Town with its hand out going, there you go. There's 3 points for you lads. So I hope not, but yeah, I think
the thing is though, last time we played them, I thought Lee Grant were getting sacked at the minute the full time whistle went, and he stayed for a bit longer. It were awful, wasn't it? So they've done a number on us once this season already, but they are weak. And like I say, Matt and I'll go into it a little bit in more detail tomorrow night. But it doesn't matter how the game goes. It honestly does not matter. You just have to win it. You got 12 games. You have to win as many of them as you can. But again, we can't get them at a better time because of what they're facing in suspensions and unavailable because he's on loan from us. However, we must be the only team where, as a fan, you listen to all these advantages you're supposed to have. Yeah, he can't play. Oh, he's injured as well. Oh, yeah. We, again, as Town fans, it must be the only club in the country that goes, oh, fucking hell, I mean, we're losing this, doesn't it? The easier it sounds on paper, it's the more difficult it becomes for us on the field. And honestly, we must be the only team that's as bad as this at it, because you can guarantee they'll do something to make it a little bit awkward for us at some point in that game. However, I'll still back us to win it.
Yeah. Any predictions? Shall we?
Well, I had on my sheet to work out my points. I had a 1-1 draw. So let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope I'm wrong.
Let's hope you're wrong.
Well, but you know, you're our away form's been dog shit. You know, you couldn't wish for a better opportunity to address it quickly. The next 2 away games are Wigan, who can't buy a win, and then Port Vale, who are they still rock bottom? Port Vale, I think. You know, I mean, we couldn't ask for 2 better away games back to back, and then Rotherham at home, who are they second or third bottom. So if we can't take advantage and take at least a point, and then 7 from the next 3, we're bollocks anyway. I think I'll put a draw down. I'm with you. I think we have to win. We have to go in and win this game. So it'd be interesting to see how he sets up. Be interesting to see what his mindset is. He's got to play Hardie for me. Hardie's got to play. Hardie's got to play. May's got to play. And even Ashley's got to play. We don't need to be worried about having 6 and 7 at the back against Wigan, for fuck's sake. So anyway, do you want to have a prediction?
Go on.
My prediction is I'm gonna completely against everything I wrote on that bit of paper less than an hour ago, or less than 2 hours ago. I'm going to say 2-1 Town. There you go.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I won't come to you, Ian, because you'll be doing it. So.
Well, Gaz has nicked me scoreline because I was going to go 2-1 Town, so I might as well stick with that scoreline. Yeah, 2-1 Town, I believe. And I think I got the feeling from listening to a bit of the press conference that Hardie's got a chance maybe of starting and maybe playing for about 60 minutes and then going off, because he ended up playing like almost 45 minutes on Saturday, and then he's had a full week of training as well. So I think he'll probably start him. And you're right, Cam Asher needs to start as well. And if we don't go for it, then it's shameful. But yeah, 2-1 Town.
Problem is, if he starts and we haven't scored, who have we got coming off bench to change it? Dion Charles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's hope it don't get to that. I'm going to go 1-0 Town. I'm going to go 1-0 Town with a clean sheet, because Wigan, without Joe Taylor, they can't score for Toffee unless it's a set piece. I think Town will win 1-0, but I think we'll draw with Rotherham at home, because that is Huddersfield Town all over. There's no way we're winning these next 3 games in a row, because it just didn't what Town do. It isn't. 3 easy games on paper, you think, right, come on, lads, this is a gift here. It's a chance to get those 9 points and get cemented in playoffs. Watch us end up slipping up one of these and drawing or losing them, because it's what Town do. It's what we always do. But yes, I think we'll win 1-0.
If we don't, then yeah.
1-0, and the hope continues, done it for another week. So
yeah.
So right, guys, I think we'll call it there. We've done enough there, haven't we? Hour and a half we've done there. Mammoth.
Yeah, I think just one thing. Andy's actually put a note in the just to mention. About Dave Major. It was his funeral this week, and it was I don't sit in the same stand. But OT was saying that apparently the club put a scarf on a seat, which was a really nice touch for a good lad who'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah. Right then, guys. Thank you as always. Thanks for all your comments. Good to see you all listening as always. If you want to come on, you know, I always say it, but just send us a DM to the Town Social on X and come and join us, because we want as many people on as possible, and it's going to get interesting in running. There's going to be either loads to moan about or loads to get excited about. So come on and have your say. But thank you as always for your comments on there. Thank you very much to Gaz, Andy, and Ian. And yeah, we'll see you all after the Wigan game. Take it easy, everyone. As always, up the Town.